This is Estefi. She's a regular student taking online classes in Mexico City during the pandemic. As many others, Estefi has a lot of things to worry about. Following her course schedule, helping out at home, and looking for internships for the summer. As a result, she has decided to cut back on sleep for the rest of the academic term. Just last night, she pulled an all-nighter to finish an important paper for her class. Today, she's visiting her aunt, who lives on the other side of Mexico City. And to avoid the potential contagion that could happen in public transportation, Estefi decided to drive herself. But now, the effects of sleep deprivation are starting to kick in. Estefi is tired from a night of work and struggles to keep herself focused as she drives to her aunt's house. Under these conditions, it is only a matter of time until the consequences become severe. Just like Estefi, many others will get into car accidents while drowsy. In the United States alone, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration registers nearly 100,000 cases of car accidents related to drowsy driving every year. You might think that pulling an all-nighter or sleeping an hour less is worth the pain you will endure the next day, but oftentimes, the cost can be as high as your life. Reflecting on the dangers of driving while sleepy, Stanford professor William Dement created a simple motto to remind students what could happen in similar situations. Drowsiness is red alert. It's a phrase known by hundreds of students at Stanford and by many others outside of campus. Since the majority of sleep-related car accidents occur among young adults, it is even more important to spread the motto with as many young people as possible. But fear not. While the statistics may seem gloomy, there are a lot of simple actions you can take to improve your sleep and avoid dangerous situations, the most important of which is to learn about the science of sleep and how it affects your daily life. Perhaps no concept is as important as that of sleep debt. Just like Estefi, you might think that pulling an all-nighter or sleeping less than usual can help you achieve your immediate goals and be more productive. However, if you skip 1 hour of sleep, your body will see the consequences. If you take 1 hour away from your regular sleep, that is 1 hour you owe your body. With time, this sleep debt will accumulate, which will make you drowsy throughout the day.
Now let's jump in. In order for us to understand good sleep habits, we need to understand some basics of the sleep cycle. There are 4 stages of sleep that we undergo every night. One stage is the REM cycle, while the other 3 stages are considered non-REM or NREM stages. The bulk of the time we are asleep, we are not dreaming because we are in non-REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is divided into 3 stages: light, intermediate, and 2 stage, characterized by distinct waveforms called sleep spindles and K-complexes. And finally, deep sleep, also known as N3 stage, which is characterized by delta waves and dominates the first third of the night. Meanwhile, we dream during REM sleep, where our breathing becomes irregular and we experience rapid eye movements, tremendous relaxation, and our muscle tone is paralyzed. REM happens every 90 to 120 minutes during our sleep cycle and dominates during the last third of the night. Now, why is this relevant? Because in stage 1 of sleep, you can actually still perform automatic functions. You can write texts, and you can even drive your car. This is something called a light stage sleep. And throughout this process, you're falling into tiny, tiny microsleeps. You're sliding in stage 1 to awake so quickly, you just think you're awake the whole time. You might not realize that you are impaired, making it extremely dangerous, which is why drowsiness is red alert. Another important concept that we need to understand when looking at the basics of sleep are circadian rhythms. Our circadian rhythm is a biological clock which is programmed to have you awake during the day to sleep at night. It consists of a near 24-hour rhythm that persists in constant conditions and can be synchronized to a 24-hour cycle. The human circadian clock is in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Circadian rhythms help with internal coordination that influences sleep, hormone secretion, temperature regulation, and even metabolism. The circadian rhythm keeps track of how long the day is, thereby allowing for temporal organization at all physiological levels and anticipation of seasonal behavior, such as migration and hibernation. Light can synchronize their circadian clock. There are 4 characteristics of light that influence the effect of light on circadian rhythms. 1. time of day of application. 2. Intensity of light. 3. Duration of light exposure. And 4. Wavelength composition or color. Common sleep disorders. What are some common symptoms of sleep disorders? One may feel as if they have unrefreshing sleep, possess unusual daytime tiredness, fatigue, and/or sleepiness, have insomnia, or difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, have unusual or violent behavior during sleep, if they're snoring a lot, or they have restlessness in the evening. Insomnia is a symptom that can become a syndrome. Fun fact, insomniacs don't generally like to sleep with other insomniacs. So, what's it like to live with chronic insomnia? Symptoms of chronic insomnia include fatigue or malaise, attention, concentration, and/or memory impairment, impaired social, academic, and/or occupational performance. Another common sleep disorder is sleep paralysis, also known as old hag syndrome, which is when you wake up but are unable to perform voluntary movements of the muscles from your neck down. Sleep paralysis episodes may last from a couple of seconds to various minutes. People with this sleep disorder may experience hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations that are sometimes mistaken as a supernatural phenomenon. Now, let's talk about some myths and misconceptions regarding sleep. First, drinking alcohol before bedtime helps you sleep. That's false. Do not equate sedation with normal sleep. A little nightcap may seem to help you fall asleep a little bit faster, but it won't help you stay asleep. Alcohol is linked to the production of adenosine. Adenosine is a chemical that helps induce sleepiness, but this chemical wears off partway through the night. Number 2, watching TV helps you relax before bed. That's alright, as long as you avoid doing it at least an hour before bedtime. The blue light emitted by our devices interrupts the release of melatonin, which helps us sleep more soundly. If you must use your devices, try to turn the night light shift on, which can help block out blue lights. Number 3, hitting the snooze button lets you sneak in some extra Z's. Wrong. Why is something as common as snoozing so bad? When you hit the snooze button, you're planning to go back to sleep. What you're doing is effectively replacing your REM sleep, your dreaming sleep, with stage 1 sleep, which is a lot less refreshing. It's just a bad deal. Instead, try to decide on a final time to wake up, and wake up when it's time. REM and dreams are good for you.
Now, let's return to Estefi and see how better sleep habits can help us avoid accidents. Instead of pulling an all-nighter, Estefi decided to prioritize her sleep, knowing she can always return to the paper another time. Just like Estefi, you can do a few simple things to improve the way you sleep. First, try to be constant with the way you sleep. Treat your sleep with respect and listen to your body. Remember the value of a solid night's sleep and try to follow a routine for when you wake up and when you go to bed. You can benefit from locking a wake-up time and sticking with it every day. Maybe even keep track using a sleep journal and try to record any problems you encounter during the night. It is also beneficial if you try to plan your day ahead of time so that you can sleep in a state of serenity. If you're tired and ignore the signals, it might come back to haunt you. Second, while caffeine might seem as an enemy of sleep, you can use it strategically and avoid the consequences. It can take up to 30 minutes for caffeine to make an effect on your body, which will give you a small boost for 3 to 4 hours. Third, it is important to know when you have a problem. As we can see, Estefi is a heavy snorer and maybe even suffers from sleep apnea. This can cause a lot of problems down the road. But sleep apnea, just like most sleep disorders, can be ameliorated with the help of professionals, so don't be afraid to reach out for help. Following all of our guidelines, Steffi will be rested and ready to start a new life using sleep to her advantage. After a good night of sleep, Steffi feels secure driving across Mexico City to visit her aunt. She is alert and will be able to get to her final destination without any significant risk. Better sleep will help you in everyday life, and if you're feeling sleepy in any important situation, just remember that drowsiness is red alert.